50 Cent responds to people who call him petty for his Netflix documentary and speaks on if he believes Diddy can make a comeback after his release from prison.
Characterize it as a hit piece in the very beginning is because they didn't get a chance to watch it, you know, when they were saying that. And then after they see it, you see everyone's changed their mind and it becomes the #1 dog.
But also someone calling it a hit piece was a statement from Diddy's team. So, I mean, what's your response to Diddy's team? Of course, they're going to probably have an opinion. And then what's your opinion on people that just say that you're petty? Are you petty?
I accept that. I'll take that. I'll wear that. I'm fine. You know, like I have antics that I've become comfortable with on social media because of the usage of social media. That's just that. You know what I mean? Like, but when they look at, they'll say me deciding to go on ABC is petty. The morning show is the biggest show. Yeah. These people, they came from. It's a great opportunity to be on that actual platform, but they looked at it further and said it's airing in prison, so this would be why I would like to do that. And it didn't come across as a reason not to. Of course, I was aware that it would be airing.
What do you think about like a possibility of him having some sort of comeback when he gets out of prison? Do you think that's a possibility?
I'm not sure. A comeback like in music?
Yeah, just, I mean, or are people going to just be over this?
Well, I don't think he'll have a comeback where people are aware that he's behind it. I do think that his passion for music may allow him to go back to make music because he knows that's what he knows, right? And you can do it, and again, without meeting the record company. Like the artists are meeting the audience before they meet the record company now. So you could do those things and develop things of value. And when the company is interested, you end up making a deal, but they don't know that they did the deal with, the public doesn't know that they did the deal with him. You see what I'm saying? So he would be able to do that, but I don't see him like publicly people supporting him. They did characterize it as a hit piece in the very beginning.
That last piece though, to start there, like that makes sense, but that's not Diddy. You know, that puts you in the seat of an investor. That's like what we brought up the other day. What was it, George Clooney? When I went and grabbed a bottle from my bar, and I was just like, I didn't know that this was his shit. He made all this money from this liquor right here. You know, that tequila brand. This is his, right? So you could have a business and you don't never put your face to it. You can have a sponsorship or an endorsement or an investment into something and it takes off, of course, and your face is never to it. But that's not what how Diddy made his money. He made his money by being the brand. That's why he campaigned and was so successful with Ciroc, you know, and then it expanded into the Ciroc Boys and all that, him doing James Bond commercials to it and shit like that. The Netflix series even showed something that I thought was very, very smart with Diddy. Back in the day, we used to always criticize him based on like what Suge Knight said at the BET Awards, right? All in the videos, all in a come to Death Row Records. But the Netflix series put another perspective to that, saying that what Diddy did by always being in front, being on the songs, being in the videos, being on the shows, he paid himself a salary from that shit. And it's just like, oh, damn. Yeah. I mean, he's the one that became a billionaire, not me. I need to listen a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like, very, very smart move. If you go peep how they broke that down in a Netflix series, that's supposed to be tearing them down. But that was a very smart thing that they depicted. I'm just like, damn, we criticized him for that. And he made millions doing it. You know what I'm saying? And he just took the bullets. Y'all call me and say what y'all want. Okay, Suge, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make more money than you, though, you know? But that to me is where Diddy has always made a lot of his money, music wise, in the front wise, endorsement wise, liquor wise. So I don't 50's just throwing that one out there if you ask me. As far as him doing music, nobody checks for him musically anyway. You know, so you're gonna put something out, people are gonna listen for controversy and everything, but does anybody care about a Diddy album, especially after he comes out? Like, no. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Like, people's gonna have to develop a position for Diddy. Like, you know, they tried to get you and take you down as a billionaire black mogul, and you were just in there for some freaky shit and some prostitution. That's it. And he needs that fan base to be strong to allow him to do public tying stuff. And that side is going to be there. You could still pull up to an R. Kelly concert right now if he was home and see a bunch of chicks out there saying, "We love you, R. Kelly." You know what I'm saying? So, I think he's always going to have some type of strong following because it's Diddy. But the Diddy that we know is over. Also because of his age, the hits of us on his brand. And there's going to be a lot of big companies that's always going to stay away from him because it's not worth the risk. You know what I'm saying? If you want to spend that type of money, you can just go get a better endorsement face. The petty thing, though, 50 Cent is so fucking smart, man. You see that original answer? He's like, I'll take that, but social media and the way I use it. And I'm just like, he hashtags his businesses with almost every controversial post that he puts up. If he's selling a liquor, it's hashtagged. If he's selling a show, it's hashtagged on his disc with Ja Rule or some shit, right? Like, he knows what he's doing. Like 50 Cent is a fucking genius, and he has a success that he's had and this type of longevity for a reason. So him throwing that little jewel out there, you got to catch it and say, "Ooh, that's another one. He's right." And then who the fuck turns down an opportunity to be on the morning show? Like, he knows that's a huge platform. Like, what are we talking about? Whether I'm dragging this guy or not, I'm supposed to turn that down. Oh yeah, I know it's going to go into the jails. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to be there regardless. I need the show to be number one. That's how I'm getting paid off of the show doing well, not off of being petty. In y'all eyes, it's just like you got to stick to the point and just take the shots. And the 50s of the world are just immaculate at that. Small jewels wrapped up in there if you pay attention. All right, sticking with Diddy though. The news of now this isn't filed, people. I did a little look up for it to see if I could find a little bit more. I don't believe that this is filed, but it's coming from a lot of credible reported sites. There's rumblings of it, and it's possible. It's very possible. It's very possible. Diddy files a $1 billion lawsuit against Netflix over 50 Cent docuseries. Now, the reason why I say that this is very, very possible and in the works is because I believe we already confirmed that he sent a cease and desist. Okay. So you got people out here that threaten with cease and desist, and sometimes that's all it's supposed to be, a threat. Let me put this legally tied threat out there and see what you're going to do. See if you jump off your square. See if you stop doing what I want you to stop doing. See if you're going to do what I want you to do without me having to go spend money or go through this court process for a couple of years with you. Sometimes that's what people do with a cease and desist. Is John suing TBL? He said himself he sent a cease and desist. Has John filed a civil suit against Cassidy? He said a cease and desist was sent, right? So it looks like that was more so a scare tactic, right? But now, fast forward, you look at somebody like a Diddy. Nobody's going to make me look at Diddy and the type of legal representation around him and the type of figure that he still is and think that he sends cease and desist just to see, let's see if we can scare him off of his square, especially if you're sending a cease and desist to another powerhouse, Netflix. Okay. Netflix has a whole legal department to vet this shit. So if you're going to go play with them, even with a cease and desist, you got to be serious. You don't just try to flinch a Netflix or 50 Cent. So I wouldn't be surprised if this continues for that reason. Now, here's another reason why I wouldn't be surprised if it continues. It's not hard to see that Diddy is far from out under all of his troubles. Legally and losing his freedom for the rest of his life, that was the biggest piece. Your freedom is you can't put, it's priceless. You can't put a number on it. But now that you're supposedly coming home, in a short amount of time, given that you was fucking charged with a RICO, right? Shit, right? The feds came at you, a considerable short amount of time. Now you got to get out here. You got to be on your feet. Money runs the world, right? Money runs your world, okay? And he's got 1,000 civil suits still on top of him, right? Now imagine he goes and wins $1 billion settlement or lawsuit with Netflix. I'd say that helps him a little bit financially. So ironically, if he files something like this and actually wins, think about the reverse of financial issues that this man could potentially be dealing with maybe for the remainder of his life, that can balance for him. And if so, if that was what really happens in the end, my nemesis 50, you got me out of one of the worst spots that I've ever been in by being quote unquote petty through our war. You know, you helped me out of that hole. Thank you. Even if I don't need to sue 50, if I can get out of Netflix, thank you, 50. Right. And you see the back and forth over how did the footage come out? Who gave him the footage? And Mark Niflo should have never been on camera like this and exposed like this. It's just, I'm just saying. It's one of those things to watch. But staying with the closing out some of the Diddy news when we talk about some of the legal stuff around him. Yeah, Clayton is still around. I could almost guess how already forecast how you guys are going to feel about this one.
Clayton Howard, the man suing Cassie for sex trafficking, has now filed a motion in Diddy's federal criminal case, asking the judge to recognize him formally as a victim entitled to the rights and restitution available to all other victims. When you hear the details in the motion, it's going to blow your mind. Let me tell you and catch you up on the part that we already know. Clayton claimed she found him on Backpage. She convinced him to go to these hotels, these freak-offs. Diddy was in the room. They had sex. Clayton says he got an STD. Cassie was helping recruit him and the other male escorts, that she enjoyed the encounters. Here's the twist. He claims that when he told the prosecutors all of that, they were not trying to hear it. And he was pressured by his lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn. Tyrone Blackburn is making an appearance in this motion. He's saying in his motion, I met with the federal prosecutors with my lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn. I gave them all the evidence that I possibly could find and have. Clayton says the government, in their sentencing memorandum to the judge, told the judge that Clayton was one of Diddy's victims transported for sex, and that they used Clayton as part of the math to push Diddy's guidelines range up for sentencing. But when it was time for victim rights, notice of sentencing, a chance to speak at the sentencing, information about restitution, Clayton says he got nothing. No call, no email, no victim impact statement. Clayton's account begs the question, had he testified at sentencing, what would he have said? Likely he would have said, I was a victim of both Ventura and Combs. Ventura enjoyed it. Ventura lured me. That would have really changed sentencing, in my opinion. Also been a witness at the trial. According to Clayton, way before this trial ever started, he asked his lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, to file a lawsuit against Combs and Ventura. But Blackburn, pressured by prosecutors, then pressured him to not file. According to Clayton, Blackburn sat on it after being told that suing might confuse things and hurt Cassie's credibility in front of the jury's eyes. After the criminal case, Clayton has been emailing and calling the U.S. Attorney's Office saying, hey, you called me a victim when it helped you at sentencing. Where are my victim rights now? He's asking for three big things from the judge. One, he wants official recognition that he's a crime victim in this case. Two, he wants help and documentation so he can apply to the DOJ's Backpage remission program, money set aside for people trafficked through sites like Backpage. If you call me a victim to put this man away, you don't get to pretend I don't exist when it's my turn to be heard. Some of the emails from the prosecutors show that they are telling him, hey, look, you want Backpage restitution? Here it is. But that being said, whatever you think about Diddy, Cassie, sex work, Clayton's filings raise one big question, which is, was he fairly treated for his claims, both to Blackburn and to the government, that I was a victim? Was it fair to not call him to the stand as a witness? Was it fair to not call him to the stand at sentencing to give a victim impact statement? And what would have happened if that man took the stand either at sentencing or during the trial and said, she enjoyed it, I'm suing her for sex trafficking? Clayton Howard, the man.
I ain't gonna lie. So Clayton has always annoyed the shit out of me. I don't like the guy, but that doesn't matter right now, okay? And peep this. What's so funny is one of these top comments here says he was a paid actor. He took out advertisement and ad in a newspaper for sex. He was a willing paid participant. He needs to stop. Get a job. That's what it said. That's one of the top comments there. That's what that shit says. Now, we do remember as we leading up to the Diddy trial, some of that talk of his lawyer telling him, we're not going to sue Cassie right now or go after Cassie right now or do anything that could make her look worse than what the government is touting her as, which is the star witness in this Diddy case, right? At the moment that she becomes a victim and she was taken advantage of and she was groomed and she was beat on and she was assaulted and she was all these things and she was turned out by Diddy, then we get Diddy. You know, if she's the whole like, nah, like she was more on it than Diddy and I want to sue her and she did that, she burnt me, she gave me an allegedly, right? We heard all this stuff, right? Then that taints things a little bit. So we did hear that leading in. Here's my separation, people. There's just two sides to being a victim here as it pertains to how I look at Clayton. Okay. You got the side of looking at him like you are a victim legally. Yeah. Yeah. What do you want me to do? You know what I'm saying? Especially if in the actual court paperwork, he was called a victim and, you know, he wasn't called to the stand, you know, for certain tactical reasons. And you used him in the sentencing, but you didn't allow him to proceed early on with his civil suits, etc. And he was hushed and silenced. That should be between him and his lawyer as well. Can he sue his lawyer? But anyway, so legally, yes, right? But in the real world, which is how a lot of people are always going to get judged, rightfully so. You see the comment in here that we just read. Like, dude, and this is what is always so conflicting, where we look at y'all as bag chases, clout chases. You know what I'm saying? Civil suit is my primary job ass niggas. You know what I'm saying? That's why we look at y'all, because it's like you weren't a willing participant. You know, Cassie and Diddy put a gun to your head. You didn't take that money at the time. And then he come out and say some shit. I'll say allegedly, like he was mad that Cassie aborted the child and he got Cassie pregnant or some shit that he believed. I'll still say allegedly. But like this fucking guy, you know, so outside of legal process, nobody wants to look at you like a victim. Nobody's ever going to look at you like a victim, you know? You guys want me to make this more sensitive real quick before we get out of this Diddy segment and the Clayton piece? I'll make it more sensitive for you guys. Look how society even looks at female artists. But that's it for a second. Now, a lot of people say, can no female are a guy? Like, come on, physically wise, sexual orientation wise, how Sway? Right? I get it. But there's a lot of women sitting in jail right now for R, especially related to dealing with an illegal aged boy, right? These guys are in society. How many of them are treated like fucking heroes? All right. Like, let's say you got the 17-year-old high school student. And he's taking down the badass, voluptuous teacher. He's getting patted on the back. Stop. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me, fellas. He's getting patted on the fucking back. You know, that is society. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. We can say that for a different day, different conversation. But you pulling up to fuck on Cassie for a check on your own will and then leaving, the fuck you want me to do here? And so a lot of people have problems with Cassie as a consensual adult. So what the fuck you think y'all look at this fucking male escort for as far as consent? Man, get the fuck on. Get the fuck on, man. You need a check, man. Just call Vlad. Matter of fact, you already did. Vlad called you, or whichever direction. Get the fuck on. I'll go open up another back page or some shit and get your ass another check. Get the fuck on, man. All right, Max B.